I wouldn't call my family and I adventure junkies by any means, but we recently had the opportunity to take a 3,200-mile trip, and if you're interested, I'd like to share it with you. But first of all, I should give you a fair warning. If you are not into watching other people's vacation videos, well, here's your chance to make your exit. But if you have nothing better to do, well, come along. If you've never driven through the Shenandoah Valley of Northern Virginia, you should plan to do so. There's a Norman Rockwell type of feeling there. Think of verdant valleys surrounded by gentle mountains and spacious fields dotted with black Angus cattle, quaint villages with working railways, and, if you go in the spring, the foliage is nothing short of dazzling. For our short visit to the valley, my family and I chose the village of Luray, Virginia, home of the Luray Singing Tower, and of course the famous Luray Caverns, which happen to be the largest caverns in the East. But there's a lot more to Luray than bell towers and caverns. It's also a great place for a bicycling family like ours. For example, the Hawksbill Greenway is a well-designed bike route which travels for several miles right along some of Virginia's finest trout waters. There's also a ropes course in the village and a great little car museum. And if you have kids, make sure you check out the garden maze. When it came time to leave this place, well, I basically had to kidnap my own children. Nevertheless, this was only chapter 1 of our trip, and soon enough it was time to head back over the mountain to the interstate. By the way, I dare you to try keeping your eyes on the road. Back on the interstate, the excitement subsides a bit, and we settle back into more of this. Truth is, if I included all of the roadway footage in this video, there would be more than 40 hours of just driving. In the northwest quarter of Alabama, there's a stretch of the Sipsey River about 12 miles long, and it's cold enough there to harbor rainbow trout year-round. So when my brother, who lives in Alabama, and I heard about it, well, we had to go and see it for ourselves. So you might be wondering whether or not we kept any, and well, yeah, we did. But we also put a few back. And soon enough, however, it's time once more to pack up the Honda and head a little further south. Our next stop? Gulf Shores, Alabama. If you happen to be an ocean lover, well, this is the chapter for you. Imagine bright, sunny days, the taste of salt on your lips, An ocean breeze on your skin and sand underfoot. Unparalleled ocean beauty. However, I do have a personal confession to make here. Truth is, I'm not really a big fan of sand. It gets in places it shouldn't. Your phone, your camera, your vehicle, well, let's just say it gets in places it shouldn't. But my wife and kids, well, they absolutely love it. My wife soaked up in excess of vitamin D, and my children played for hours, days in fact. And the evenings were incredible. Sunsets so beautiful they make your heart ache. And the crabs by night, literally thousands of little creatures. They spend their days in sandy burrows and come out in droves once the sun sets. The kids and I, needless to say, had quite a big time chasing them around the beach. But there's more to do on the ocean than just sit in the sand. Like fishing, for example. While we were on the coast, I did 2 types of saltwater fishing. First of all, I tried the shallow bays of the Bon Secours National Wildlife Refuge. They didn't turn up much except one small redfish and some very unique natural beauty. The second type of saltwater angling was the real kind. "23 miles offshore in a 44-foot rig. The first hour and a half was stunning. This is me bouncing along like the king of the ocean. I was completely oblivious to the fact that only a short while later, I would be leaning over the side of the boat, retching, for about 2.5 hours. Those few hours of seasickness were nothing short of hellish, and fortunately for you, I don't have any footage to offer. Nevertheless, before that, I made some pretty big-time memories. Now, if you're anything like me, you might be wondering whether or not we put any of these fish in the cooler. And the short answer is, heck yeah. But the long answer? Well, the long answer looks something like this. Go ahead and eat your heart out. Anyway, there's so much more I could put in this video. There's the alligators we saw, and all the great little bike trails we rode. Even a bit of romance. Okay, maybe not so much on the romance. But there was food, loads of it, and delicious as well. One particular restaurant in Foley, Alabama is known for its dinner rolls, which are usually thrown to you. Yes, I said thrown. And here's a shot of little Alex getting a lift from a fine southern gentleman. We had ridden a lot that day, and his little legs just couldn't take much more. But all good things eventually reached their conclusion, and soon enough, it was time to pack up and head north. But our fun wasn't over just yet. Late on a Saturday evening, we pulled into the Polka Dot Hops Farm near Englewood, Tennessee. We pulled in late at night to find a lovely little cabin, all prepared for our arrival. Light spilled out of the windows in a very inviting fashion, and the local Great Pyrenees, Loki, was there to greet us. The following morning came early with the fading sound of whippoorwills and the roosters warming up their vocals for the morning routine. That raspy crowing in the dark soon evolved into this. And after a bit of coffee and some breakfast, it was chore time. And much to my delight, I discovered that my wife and I have somehow managed to produce 2 legitimate farmhands. The rest of the day slowly unfolded much like this. A variety of farm animals: goats, alpacas, horses, chickens, donkeys, turkeys, guinea fowl, even a couple of little beagles that very easily won our hearts. And family. Our final chapter was written in the Great Smoky Mountains, a land of epic mountains, grassy meadows, deep forest, old settlements, and plenty of wildlife. That's actually a Tennessee black bear right there, but my real camera was packed away and out of reach, unfortunately. Next time, I promise to try a little harder. Generally, my family and I enjoy the remote places, the out-of-the-way places, but when you're in the Smokies, it just seems fitting to swing by the bustling town of Gatlinburg. And while we were there, we thought it would be a good opportunity to take the kids to the Ripley's Sea Aquarium. To be fair, I would prefer to see these creatures in the wild, but how else can you get this close to sharks? And how often do you get such a close-up view of sea turtles? Or for that matter, how often do you get to simply stroll past a school of fish like this? So thanks again to modern technology for giving us a glimpse at something we might otherwise never get to see. But finally, here we are. We've reached the end of this video. Now it's time to get back into the real world of deadlines and demands. Time to unpack, put away the souvenirs, and try to get back to normal. We've been on the road for 2.5 weeks, traveled over 3,000 miles, and we've done some things that many people will never get to do. I feel fortunate. I feel blessed. And honestly, well, it's just good to be back in our own bed. Until next time, I'll leave you with these words. Life is a journey. One road leads on to the next, and you never really arrive. And if you do, it isn't for long. For soon enough, you'll be stepping out for the next phase of the journey. But wherever you go, wherever you find yourself, just try to live out your own story. After all, the best story to tell is the one you're currently living. As always, thanks for coming along.